Xbox exclusives are gone for good, says Jez Corden. This is not news. This is actually semantics that's being played. And what is very interesting is as I've been doing this longer and longer, I can see what the mainstream gaming media does. I can see what traditional gaming media is probably a better term for it. I can see also how they play the game on Twitter. And this is exactly how they play it here. It's a semantics game is what it is. Xbox exclusives are gone for good. Does that mean that Xbox exclusives are gone for good? No, it doesn't. Because in your mind, you're thinking, oh my goodness, Xbox is no longer making exclusives. What's happening? No, Xbox is no longer making console exclusives, and they haven't for a while. Now, what does that mean? For those of you that are still freaking out and not paying attention, that means that Game Pass is on PC as well. And that means that Xbox games will launch on Xbox and PC, for instance, on day one all the time. They'll also be in Game Pass. And so technically, it's not a console exclusive. So Xbox exclusives, that's what they're talking about. They're talking about that there's no console. When people refer to Xbox, they're not referring to the ecosystem. Well, here's the problem. Here's where it's a semantics game. Sometimes they're referring to the ecosystem. Sometimes they're referring to the console. For all intensive purposes, from Microsoft's side, from Xbox's side, Xbox means Game Pass. Xbox means the ecosystem, not the console. And that's the shift. And that's why these news stories keep popping up and people try to make a big deal about them. Honestly, it's kind of foolish, but let's go over it today so that you're equipped and armed to talk about these semantics when you're with your friends when they come up. But also, I do want to explore the question and just double check, is this the right strategy? I think it is, but let's double check because there is some stuff said in here that I think is interesting. Is Xbox setting the trend here for companies like Sony and Nintendo? Does Xbox's strategy make it the most forward-thinking platform in gaming? And will this shift that it's making where away from console exclusivity and into ecosystem exclusivity change the way that we play games? We're going to talk about all that. We're going to review this article. But before we do, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We drop videos like this all the time right here on this channel. Also, we do have a podcast. This is in podcast form, X1 Daily, X1 Daily. Go check us out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Leave us a 5-star review. Share us with your friends. Let's jump into it. Again, this is WCCFtech.com. Xbox exclusives are gone for good, says Jez Corden. Xbox fans were certainly surprised to see from the Game Awards 2024 trailer that Obsidian's The Outer Worlds 2 was confirmed to launch immediately on PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. I was not surprised at that. Why was I not surprised at that? Because I fully expected it. The first Outer Worlds was not an Xbox exclusive game. The first Outer Worlds was multi-platform. And so has been the case with all of the games that are coming out of Xbox since their acquisition of Bethesda, since their acquisition of Activision. They have never yet taken a game that initially dropped or when a series of that game initially dropped on all platforms, and they've never taken it back and made it exclusive to just one platform, i.e. Xbox ecosystem or the Xbox console itself. So that's not surprising. If you've been paying attention, that was not surprising. So I would be curious what Xbox fans were certainly surprised. I was not. It's a multi-platform game. Now, it is exclusive to Game Pass. It is dropping on Game Pass day one. And you can once again see, this is why I think Xbox's strategy of these types of games dropping everywhere benefits it so big because, yeah, sure, go ahead, Sony. If you're on Sony, if you're on PC, you can pay for it. Day and date, day one, $69. Or guess what? You can pay a small monthly fee to get this on day one on Game Pass included with a whole bunch of other games there. There's been a lot of conflicting talk about the multi-platform strategy, with Microsoft Gaming CEO Phil Spencer stating that there are no red lines when it comes to ports to other consoles, only for President of Content and Studios Matt Booty to say a few days ago it would be evaluated on a case-by-case basis. Once again, semantics. Do you see how they play semantics here? There are no red lines is the same thing as case. How are those two things different? Case by case means we're going to evaluate everything, i.e. there are no red lines. But because they're not the exact same thing, the media tries to blur the lines there, muddy the water, and make it seem as if there's a lot of conflicting talk. There's no conflicting talk there. Like those are not polar opposites. Case by case basis. We're evaluating games on a case by case basis. There are no red lines. Those are two in the same. Those are not different. Yet we have to, for the purposes of this article, act like they are. Even Obsidian's 2025 games show that inner conflict, with Avowed only currently announced for PC and Xbox Series X and X. Once again, no conflict there. It's a brand new IP in the same way Indiana Jones was. If Avowed does go multi-platform, it would be timed exclusive. If not, it'll be permanently exclusive on Game Pass, which means Xbox and PC. So, very, very confused at the conflict once again. You can see how it works. It works with they just play semantics. The longer I'm in it, the more that I see this happening, the more, especially active on Twitter and interacting with these guys, the more I see all they do is play the semantics game, and they use those semantics to create news stories out of nothing. And that's exactly what's being done here. However, Windows Central's Jez Corden confidently tweeted on X that real exclusives, quote, real exclusives, what's a real exclusive, for Microsoft's console exclusives are essentially gone for good in the company's plans. Here's what he said. Xbox won't have exclusives going forward. Everything is timed exclusives at most. If some games are exclusive, it's going to be incidental at best. The case-by-case argument is by and large going to be multi-platform timed with maybe a few, very few outliers. I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think that timed exclusives make sense. Sony built their entire domination of the PlayStation 4 and 5 generations off of timed exclusives with third party. I think Game Pass makes timed exclusives a benefit on steroids because you're not missing out on sales on other consoles, but you are getting the benefit of selling Game Pass because it comes day one. You don't have to play. And every time someone buys one of your games on PlayStation, that, let's say Indiana Jones, let's use that as the example, that dropped 6 months, 7 months, 1 year later on PlayStation, for instance, and every time someone buys that for $70, it's a sales pitch for Game Pass. That's it. Timed exclusives are there. I disagree, though, that so here's the thing. He starts the sentence by saying we won't have Xbox exclusives going forward. Maybe a very few outliers. We will have Xbox exclusives going forward, but a lot of the Game Pass model is going to be timed exclusives. That's just a reality. But we will have true exclusives. I sincerely believe that. Everybody in the subscription-based arena via Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO Max, Disney Plus, they all have platform exclusives. It's just a reality. It's how it works. You need a few. They're never not going to have 100% timed exclusives. There will be some exclusives in there. A lot of those games will be timed exclusives, though. Continuing on here, when asked about the exclusivity status of Playground's Fable, which is scheduled to launch sometime next year, he replied, "That game was monstrously expensive. It might not be day one, but it will come with the current plan in place, in my opinion." This is where I do disagree with him. I actually don't think I think Fable will be one of those exclusives. To me, that one makes sense. It has been traditionally on Xbox. It's not been traditionally multi-platform. I think that despite it being monstrous, I don't think the price tag matters there. I think the IP succeeding matters there. And if it is a 9 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, if Xbox is really rolling when this launches, I think it's going to 100. I think Fable will be one of the exclusives. I think that's that marquee. In the same way a Halo and a Gears will be 100% exclusive, I think Fable also will be 100% exclusive. Notice he says, in my opinion. And that's his opinion. It's great. I disagree. I think Fable makes sense that it's going to be 100% exclusive there. Where does that leave Xbox hardware, though? Corden believes it won't be shut down unless it continues to shrink as it has over the past few quarters. In that case, all bets are off. Here's what Corden said. "I don't think they'll stop providing hardware as long as the users and revenue are there, but growth is the issue. Without finding growth elsewhere, the shareholders won't accept it, especially with the $70 billion ABK scrutiny." Number one. Okay. I'll hold my opinion here. Let's finish what he says. "Don't think they'll shut it down. It'll just be flat. When you're a giant company with trillions in market cap, flat isn't viable. They need to grow beyond console for that, but maintaining what they have will power that effort if it doesn't shrink, and it may well." No. Hardware is going to increase. Actually, I think we're going to have more hardware options. We're going to have consoles and handhelds. We know that. Jez Corden has talked about that himself. He's talking about shareholders won't accept it. First of all, I love journalists that have many, many, many anti-capitalist tweets which most in the gaming journalists industry do. None of them have run a business. None of them have run a corporation. None of them have been in those meetings even. And yet they think they understand how the inner workings of business is going to work. It always just makes me laugh. I don't think that's the problem. First of all, hardware has always been a loss factor for gaming. It's the hardware is used to sell the software, i.e. games. So that's not different. This is not different than it's been before. And I think we're going to see, he is right that the growth is the issue. And it's the same issue for PlayStation, it's the same issue for Nintendo, same issue for everybody. Everybody's looking, where is the new growth vectors going to be? Mobile gaming is a big space. That's why everybody wants cloud gaming to be a thing, and everybody's invested in cloud gaming because it enables mobile gaming to be a huge, huge space. But we're going to get more hardware, if anything. We're going to definitely get a console, and we're going to get handheld devices for sure. Until cloud gaming is so perfected that it becomes the norm. And we're close to that, to be perfectly honest. If you've used GeForce Now, you know how close we are to cloud gaming there. Closing up, so far out of the 5 Xbox exclusive announced for next year, only The Outer Worlds 2 and Dune: The Dark Ages are already confirmed for PlayStation 5 too. Do you see why? What do those two games have in common? They were already multi-platform. It's not hard, guys. It's like journalists are unwilling to see what's right in front of their face. Makes sense. Let's finish this. So, only The Outer Worlds 2 and Doom are already confirmed to launch on PlayStation 2. That's because that's where they've launched in the past as well. However, the likelihood of Fable, South of Midnight, and Avowed getting there is pretty high. Why? Why is that likelihood high for those games? All 3 of those games are brand new IPs. Why is the likelihood high? They can't cite, they don't tell me why. They just assume that it's high. They don't tell us why. I don't think that it is high, actually. I think maybe South of Midnight would be high in the same way that a Hi-Fi Rush. I could see South of Midnight more along the lines of a Hi-Fi Rush, that it's a smaller title. It has a more independent game feel. And just like Hi-Fi Rush, it's going out everywhere to grow it. Avowed may be there as well. We'll wait and see what type of game Avowed is. But Fable, I don't think at all. And Avowed, I think, is less likely to as well. At the most, all of those will be timed exclusives. But them saying like the likelihood is pretty high that they go multiplayer. Why? No, they've not been able to articulate, and they don't articulate why they think that's the case. They misassume a lot here. Anyways, I think Fable, like I've said, Fable for sure is staying on Xbox. I don't think that's going multi-platform. I could be wrong. I don't think so. South of Midnight, I could see the one that would be a timed exclusive. Avowed is probably right there in the middle. Avowed could go either way. But even Avowed, if it's a success and it's super unique, perhaps it stays exclusive permanently to Xbox and Game Pass. They close here, WCCF Tech. Do you think this is the right path for Microsoft in gaming? Yes. Yes, I do. I think there's no question that this is the right path in gaming. I think that Game Pass enables you to be constantly selling even if your games are on other platforms. We'll use Outer Worlds 2 as an example. Outer Worlds 2 drops, or let's use Indiana Jones because that's actually what we're seeing. Indiana Jones, great reviews. Everybody's raving about it. Fantastic game. It is right now exclusive. You can pay for it, or you can get it exclusively on Game Pass and Xbox and PC. Now, it is going to come to PlayStation 5. Now, it's going to come to PlayStation 5, let's say 6 months from now, 9 months from now. We don't have a date. 12 months from now. When it comes to PlayStation 5, this is how the timed exclusive is a constant sales point here. When it comes to PlayStation 5, you pay $70 over there. Damn, I wish I would have got this on Game Pass. Oh my goodness, I could have only paid $20 a month to get this, plus all these other games, including Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And that's the advantage there. I think Xbox is leading the way. I think Xbox is setting the trend. I think everybody is looking at this. And I think it's going to be very interesting to see how PlayStation fans react and what gaming journalists have to say as PlayStation games start doing this same thing, where they are timed, first-party titles become timed exclusives that drop everywhere eventually as well. It's going to be very interesting. We're in a whole new world here. Regardless, I would love to know what you guys think, though. Am I wrong? Am I wrong in saying that this is just semantics? Am I missing something here? Am I blind to it? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that Xbox's strategy is the right one, or do you think it's wrong? Let me know in the comments as well. And I'll leave you guys here with that. Again, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 Gamer. We drop videos like this all the time. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.